Spring fishing season is just around the corner, and Borders Sporting Goods is your fishing headquarters for rods and reels from G. Loomis, St. Croix, Fenwick, Lewes, Daiwa, Shimano, and Abu Garcia. No matter what species of fish you are targeting, Borders has the perfect setup to make your next trip on the water a success. Borders has baits in every style and size with a wide selection of tackle from Berkeley, Strike King, Zoom, Z-Man, Bandit, and many more. Before hitting the water for your next fishing trip, stop by and stock up at Borders Sporting Goods, US 60 West in Ashland.
Casting with the Coaches, episode number 6. I'm James Collier. He's Coach Evan Ferguson. Coach, here we are, season 1, episode 6. And this was just something we kind of kicked around for several years. And now here all of a sudden, this thing's become a normal thing for us. It's really cool.
Yeah, the weekly routine. I'm just ready to actually get on the water a little bit more and get it rolling. But that'll happen before we know it.
I know it's something I've kind of started talking about a little bit this week is starting to plan those trips that are those typical trips, already penciling out that end of May, first part of June for those trips up north. And then my cousin who just moved down to Florida a couple of years ago, he lives there on the Atlantic side. And he said, you need to bring you and your dad need to come down and let's go out on the ocean for 3 or 4 days. So hopefully that's going to happen this year. And that would be some really cool stuff. I've never got a chance to do some of the type of fishing that he does. So I'm really looking forward to that.
Yeah, definitely that saltwater stuff can be, it's fun. It's a good break from the same norm, even though last time I was saltwater fishing, they kept getting on me for setting the hook too much instead of just trusting the circle hook. So I'm sure it's a learning experience there.
Yeah, that circle hook is a certain thing that it does take a little bit to get used to. I know when we went out west and we were trout fishing, that hook set, it's more of a swoop down than it lift up like what you normally do here.
Yeah, it's a hard habit to break. I'll say that much. But no, I was actually planning on, this weekend coming up, we've actually finally got a winter forecast coming ahead at us. I was actually planning on going and getting some pre-practice time in for some of those opens. And, well, I don't think I'll be able to actually get the cast to stay, my line to stay unfrozen long enough and stay thawed out. So I think I'm going to have to just stick to the virtual scouting for now. And hopefully we'll see how it goes from there and just make sure things tuned up and ready to rock and roll whenever the time comes.
Yeah, I don't think it's supposed to be any form of fishing weather to be out there. That's for sure. And, I know I'm kind of itching at the bit to get back out there as well. As you can tell, I don't sound like I need to be outside. I've had laryngitis for the last 3 days, but it's one of those great things. I've lost my voice, but I feel fine. So welcome to this wonderful weather.
Yeah, well, at least you feel okay. I know a lot of people have been sick, at that time of year, but I don't know what the voice of the Rams is doing right now. It's got to be hard for everybody.
It's a tough struggle, man. It's tough getting through class, I will say that. By the time I get to the end of the day, that voice is fading a little time.
You sound like me during football season. So.
Hey, before we get started here, let's get that social media stuff out there. At Coasting with the Coaches, give us a follow there on YouTube. He's at Coach Eferg12. I'm at Collier SZ Live. That's on Twitter X. And then, of course, that email account. Still looking for those pictures. That's what we want to do is be able to throw in your catches of stuff that you've had. Even if it's stuff from last year, we can still incorporate it into the show. And then, of course, once we get into fishing weather and we get those normal things out there, we'll start rolling those new ones in from there. But hit us at that email, cwtcfishing@gmail.com. We'd love to see your catches. Coach, you came up with a great idea, and I've got to give you all the props on this one, that you saw something and said, man, this would be really cool to try out. and it was a pick 3 out of 9 different baits. So I recreated this image. I sent it to you, and I said, this is a great idea. And I took it and posted it out on Bass Boat Central this afternoon, and boom, it just blew up. So we've got some data from people there. We'll break down what they think. We're going to talk about our top 3. This one should be a lot of fun.
I'm looking forward to it. It's kind of funny you brought it up. I don't know whenever you're going to show it here because I'm always the guy in the blind here. But it's funny because I saw that and I always like to just play with, well, I would do this. But you sent me the link back, the graphic, and I'm still making some decisions right now. So I think a little bit of that, we're going to go into my thought process behind it. You'll get to see my brain in action here and what I think about it. So it's definitely some unique picks, and so it should be fun to talk about.
Okay, so here was the setting: 43-degree water temperature. You're on a reservoir that contains all types of rock: chunk rock, bluffs, boulders, pea gravel. Water temperature, I've said 43, a little bit of color to it, not really stained, just a little bit of color. Air temperature in the high to mid 40s, stable over the last few days. Winds 5 to 10 miles an hour. All 3 species are in the lake, so largemouth, spots, and smallmouth, all fair game. And now, Coach, let's throw up that graphic that we talked about. Before I do that, again, follow us there on social media at Casting with the Coaches, and hit us with that email address. All right, here's the 9 that you get to pick from. So number 1, the Z-Man Ned rig. Number 2, the Rapala Crush City Mare. I want to talk about this too a little bit later. Rapala now making soft baits. I think that's going to be huge. Number 3, the Z-Man Chatterbait. Number 4, the Spro Rock Crawler. Number 5, the Strike King Football Jig. Number 6, Berkeley Crash Crawl. Number 7, the Booyah Spinnerbait. Number 8, the Berkeley Fritz Side 5. And number 9, the Berkeley Stunna 112. And of course, you could replace these with those similar to what your favors, maybe whatever it may be. But that was what we wanted to throw out there, was those options. And now the suspense comes. You've got to pick 3.
Yeah. So I'm going to tell you what. Let's alternate back and forth here a little bit. We, with the water temperature and things like that, I think that really dictates it. Because to be honest with you, I'm going to, tell a little, when I probably shouldn't tell them myself. I didn't read the caption. I just saw pick 3, and I was like, what 3 would I always want to use at whatever time of the year is what I was looking at. You're putting this water in the 40s. It kind of helps me narrow it down quite a bit, and it puts me in a lot happier spot here. So I'm going to do you gonna do the rotate it back and forth, or just go?
Yeah,
with
we
it?
can
What do you
go back
think?
and forth. So let's start with what would be that number 3 out of that list, and we'll throw the list back up there on the screen.
With the conditions that you went over, my number 3 is going to be a throwback to what we talked about last week. My number 3 is going to be the jerkbait.
Okay, so you're going number
And
9 for your number 3. I'm
yeah,
going to write these down so we've got these as well.
my number is the jerkbait. Reason I'm saying that, it arguably could be my number 1. Arguably could be the best one possibly there for big quality fish with that water temperature. It's just the fact that you probably are going to have to slow it down a little bit. It might be. It's kind of what I want to go to. It could already be my fail safe there that I'd feel most confident in. But I want to make sure that's my 3rd choice. That'd be the 3rd one I'd want to pick up if I don't go with 1 or 2. We'll see how that goes. But we talked about all the different variations of jerkbaits last week, so I'm not going to get into that again. But definitely that jerkbait can be magic that time with that scenario. So what do you got?
All right, so my number 3, and this is simply because I know how I like to fish. And this is probably the one that I would struggle the most with, even though I've got a lot of confidence with it. But number 5, I'm going to pick up that football jig. And the other thing on Bass Boat Central, when I posted it over there as well, I let anybody, I said you can use any color combination you want. But I'm going with what you see right there on the screen, that black and blue. I think that's dynamite, especially any time of the year, but especially in cold water.
That's a hard one to beat there. I mean, that's Old Faithful for a lot of people and for a great reason. So, you can't go wrong with that one. I've seen you. We try to go up deep and do that one day back at Del Hollow, and like you said, I don't know if that's going to be up your alley. We didn't enjoy that part of the day very much, but it's a good choice for sure.
All right, so let's go
So
back to the screen. Your second pick.
now this is almost not fair because my second and my third pick are going to. I'm I can't give away my number one. Okay, that ruins anything fun about the show. So I'm going to go ahead and say that I'm going to trust my gut. I'm going to say my second pick, even though I kind of lied now about something I said in an earlier episode. My second pick's going to be number 4, the Spro Rock Crawler.
All right, so the Spro rock crawler, excuse me, for your second pick. Not to follow suit, but I'm right there with you. That rock crawler or the some form like a DT 6 or 8 or a Bandit 200, something of that nature. But that color combination right there, that red in the wintertime with a cold water, I think that's a dynamite bait. And especially knowing that the lake that we've talked about, Lake X, they've got those bluff walls. They've got pea gravel
Yeah.
banks. That's a hard one to pass up.
Yeah, there's a real argument you can make that number one. You know what I mean? There's a real argument, and you would not be making a mistake there by making it your number one. It's just that I'm just thinking of that for some reason. I like the versatility of where I'm going with my number one. If I'm is the Booyah spinner bait, and I'm not going to even say that it. And depends on I like the versatility, and I even will keep a box in the boat with us of like different blade options, and be able to change it even if we need to. But just I like the fact that it can be versatile and you can change and do so much. And I've caught some of the bigger fish in the cold weather on 1 and 2 and 3. I guess they're all great options, but I love the versatility of that spinner bait. So many different things, whether it's the big Colorado, you can even get some stuff with a tandem. I don't mean to take away too much glory here, but go ahead. What is your number one,
Well,
buddy?
I like your number one. And of course, if the water was maybe a little dirtier, maybe just a little bit warmer, that spinner bait is definitely probably going to be up around number two for me. It's a bait that I have a tremendous amount of confidence in. Just in the conditions, I thought this was one that I was going to leave it off of the list. But my number one, and I think if you've been around me long enough, you've probably figured where I'm headed with this one. This one is a no-brainer for me. Number 9, the Stunna. Cold water, there's just something about a jerk bait. It's something that over the last couple of years I've gained so much confidence in. And it's something that I can put in my hand. And I know that if I'm looking for maybe 3, 4 bites a day, that's one of the baits I want to have in my hand because I feel like that's what I'm going to be able to get bid on.
Yeah, you've proved it here recently. Your confidence in that stunner, and it was, it's hard to beat. Like I said, I think it might be the best fish catching option of the 3 that I was had, but I just don't want to slow down to do it if I don't have to. I'd rather be throwing that spinner bait or the crankbait. So it's I really we could talk about this stuff and go in depth, and it's there's a lot of good options there, and just a 5 degree warm up trend. 5 to 10 degrees could really change all the answers. I actually, whenever we first were looking at it, like I told you, I didn't read the fact that it could have been for all year. I was looking at it as being all year, and I probably would have crossed off my rock crawler at that point, to be honest with you, and my 9, if that matters. Just something. So it's amazing how your time of year really and the scenario of your lake can really dictate what you're taking there and what you should be throwing.
Well, let's look at what we got back from Bass Boat Central. So, of the responses we got back, and we got a lot of responses back, and we greatly appreciate the guys over there of jumping in and giving their responses. And again, we hopefully that some of those guys over there are continuing to watch the show. Be certain to hit that subscribe button. Let me get that back up there again. To again, subscribe, thumbs up, hit that bell, get an alert each time we put something out. So we're starting to grow the subscriber base, and that's huge. And that's what we want to continue to do, because having stuff like this is what makes it a lot of fun. So over on Bass Boat Central, here they were. So number 3 was number 9, the Berkeley Stunner or the jerkbait. Number 2 was number 4, the Spro Rock Crawler. It was 4 ahead of the Stunner. And in a runaway landslide win, number 5, the football jig. Coach, your thoughts?
Well, you can't fault any of those choices there. I was really proud. I'm like, are you going? Was that the popular choice there? 3 and 2 was around on par, but you come in clutch with your football jig there. So I think you look at what a lot of people are doing, and there's a lot of textbooks that we all like to read, all the Bassmaster stuff, and we're probably just another guys talking about stuff that we like, but something to consider too. Just because we're saying it's working, and just because Bass Boat Central, and we really appreciate you guys pulling in here. Sometimes you can kind of have success, and doing something a little bit different. Just something to consider. So, football jig, I'm not surprised at all. I guess me and you probably need to get better at slowing down and dragging it some.
I guess so. All right, so I got to give some shout outs to some of the great responses over on Bass Boat Central, because there were some really funny ones. I had one gentleman, he dropped in, he said, I'm out on this one. There's no buzzbait option, and I'm not touching number 3. So, number 3, the chatterbait. I'm going to save that for a little bit later to show, because I'm with this guy. Number 3, when I saw it on the list, I almost wanted to just leave it out by purpose. I've got some chatterbait horror stories. We'll talk about that in just a second. All right, so over to Delta Bass Full out of Stockton, California. He got very unique with his options. So he said, give me number 1. I'm going to put number 2 with number 7 together as my trailer, and then take number 8, the Fritz side. Jigman 51 out of St. Roberts, Missouri. He said, well, my wife won $950 playing pick 3, so he goes, oh, my bad, wrong thing here. And then 2001 champion out of Palmyra, Indiana, he said BR549. And then, of course, he added in there as well, 8675309. So you got a lot of comicals that is there and stuff, but I really like the guy from Stockton, California. He was intuitive. He said, I'm going to put my trailer number 2 on my spinnerbait and make that one of my options.
Like to beef it up a little bit more vibration. It's definitely a good plan. I like the vibration there. And, I haven't personally, you brought this up earlier in the show. I'm really excited to get my hand on some of these Rapala soft plastics. Anything, let's be honest, whatever Jacob Wheeler's doing now is probably something we all need to pay attention to. I actually was looking at some of those, the new, what do you call it? What's his new shot? I actually was looking at it, and it was, I forgot actually right now, off the top of my head what it was called. It's actually killing me, but it was his like the Mickey rig tactic, his new forward facing sonar minnow that he's come out with, and it's definitely unique. And I'm mad. Just all the stuff they do whenever you're getting in the game late. There's only so many new things you think about you could do with baits and these lures and stuff like. So when somebody, a trusted brand like Rapala, decides that it's worthwhile for them to change what they're doing and get into the soft plastics, they have an idea about something special they're going to do to kind of set themselves apart. So I think it'll be interesting to see really what makes it different, and if it is, what makes it better. So I can't wait to get my hands on some of them.
I saw this week too, Dustin Connell has signed with Rapala, and he was talking about that he's going to be running the Rapala Crush City boat, and throw it back up on the seat. The Mayor, which is their soft plastic swim bait, if you will. But like you said, when you talk about Rapala, you're talking about a trusted name in the industry. They make great products. Their DT series are some of the best. I'm like you. I cannot wait to get my hands on some of these soft plastics to see how they fish.
Yeah, if you're looking at me, I'm trying to look up what that lure was. I was trying to pull up here, but it's they're going to be some, and with Dustin Connell. Him and Wheeler are tight. They do a lot of stuff together, and so it definitely you got some good guys on the R&D team of that for sure. So, and it's ironic. Was it today or yesterday? I read that Ike's leaving Rapala. And I thought that was crazy. I mean, a guy who's been a part of it for years. He said he's starting something new. So, a lot of new interesting things are happening in the bait in the fishing tackle world. So, stuff to stay tuned to and see what's going to happen. They left, and last year Polnick moved on from Rapala as well. So, different things. Guys have been there for a long time, and then they're doing this stuff to start off new things. So, definitely interesting. I can't wait to kind of check it all out and see what's going to happen.
I'll tell you what I'll do. I'll bail you out here. I'll throw up the thing and I'll talk about the least checked off numbers that wanted while you're looking up for that bait there to help you out. So the
Freeloader.
least,
Sorry.
yeah, okay, the freeloader. Okay, we'll come back to that in just a second. Okay, so the least popular bait on this list, number 3, the chatterbait. Amen. Preach it, brother. Throw an extra 20 in the offering plate for me. There was a tie. No, excuse me. There was a tie for third. In second was number 6, and I kind of found this one a little bit odd, but the Berkeley Crash Crawl. Now, intuitive minds would say put 5 and 6 together and make a chunky pork trail there, kind of, if you will, as you're making the imitation, the go chunks that we used to use way back in the way days. But then tied for third was the Crush City Mayor and the spinnerbait. And it's interesting because, you talk about those baits that you can put some of those together, and some of those were the least popular of the entire list.
Yeah, that's definitely you. I'm surprised. I mean, obviously, my spinnerbait was my number one. Is one of the lower ones. And chatterbait was right there on the list with me. Something I wanted to throw too. So it's kind of I was really hard pressed dropping it off. And then 6, some of the things that have been a little bit more common. I don't want to throw that football jig. I just don't. So, but I kind of can't wait to hear some of your chatterbait stories because I I do really like a chatterbait. I kind of love a spinnerbait more. Is all I'm going to say. But I think there's definitely something to that chatterbait early on in the year. So I kind of can't wait to hear about why you're against the chatterbait per se.
Well, before I do that, I wanted to, of the options on the list, one that really caught me off guard by the voting was number 1, the Ned rig. It was a close fourth, only one ahead of the, let's see, what was it? It was the Mayor and the spinnerbait. And you think about cold water, you're trying to be very finessey, especially knowing that there's smallmouth, largemouth, and spotted bass there. I would have thought maybe that Ned rig would have been a lot there. There was a couple people said no on number 1, 100%. If they're going to do that, it involves fairy wands, they're going home.
Hey, it's I think the Ned rig kind of has the people. You have people that love it or hate it. You know what I mean? I think there's some people, but it definitely works. And you got those people who don't want to ever finesse. They don't want to throw, spinning rods and things like that. So they're going to kind of shy away from it. But then you have the people that like catching fish, which I think we all should be kind of in that boat of we like catching fish and like to use it. So it definitely has its place. Definitely, middle of the pack. I'm still shocked though that the spinnerbait was as low as it was, and this is where I'm at with things. And even that flipping bait, that was, that Crush City. I never used the Crush City either, but it's something that I actually was looking at it on what you sent me. I'm like, I'm definitely going to get a pack of these and check them out. I think they look great. So everybody's different, and I think it kind of depends on where you're at. I know we kind of gave them the topic of where they're at, but what you're confidently used to is going to change some things as well.
Something with the Ned rig is kind of what you said, but I'm one of those people that I love to hate the Ned rig. I hate throwing it, but I love throwing it at the same time because it catches fish. And it's something that over the last couple of years that I've even tinkered around with it with different hook presentations and different hookups to where I fish a lot of grass. And I've learned how to throw this thing in grass and not get it tangled up every cast. And that really makes me upset because I don't want to throw this thing, but it works so stinking well, especially when I'm catching those brown fish up north.
Yeah, it's something special, and you even caught someone up down at Dale a couple weeks ago. So, it's got its place, and it probably belongs a lot more. I guess we just got to decide what you believe in, and then if you'll drop down to throw a Ned rig, I guess some would say.
Well, so what we're going to have to do, because what it sounds like is you are a chatterbait guy, but you are not a Ned rig guy.
No,
Well, this is why we go together so well, because I am a Ned rig guy. I am not a chatterbait guy. I loathe the chatterbait. And anybody that knows me and has been around me long enough, they're probably laughing right now, especially some of the guys who have fished with me, because I have had so many bad experiences with the chatterbait to the point to where I got so angry one day, I literally cut one of them off and threw it in the lake.
I don't know if I've been that mad at it before, or at any lure, just about. But I guess the hookup ratio, the not catching. What was happening now, James?
So here was my hookup ratio. And the reason it was
Okay.
that was because this was my bite ratio. I have never caught a fish on a chatterbait. And it was funny. I was fishing with one of my good friends. We were down on Barkley. We were pre-fishing for a tournament. And it was springtime. I'd been catching fish left and right on my spinnerbait. And he started kidding me. He said, well, you just need to pick a chatterbait up. You can get bit on that. I said, I can't get bit on a chatterbait. He said, watch this. He said, I'll pick mine up and I'll catch a fish. He makes like 3 casts around a bush and catches a fish. We continue down this same row. He catches 6 fish and I'm standing literally right beside him throwing the same exact chatterbait. I never got a bite. Ever. I put the stupid thing away, picked up my spinnerbait, and caught 3 fish right in front of me. I just can't
Survey was
throw it.
money. No, I tell you what, that's actually. But you did say something that the first time I've experienced it, and this makes me sound like I don't fish, or yeah, it sounds like a weird observation. You're the first time I've ever talked to somebody personally who has had 2 people in the boat throwing a chatterbait and caught a fish. I had something in my head. If you're both throwing a chatterbait, all that vibration, I'd have never in my time like something. Like, oh, they're hitting one. Like I was both throwing. I've never caught a fish when there's 2 people both throwing chatterbait. I've caught them until somebody else picks one up and they pick it up and it shut off, and all of a sudden they put it away and I caught it again. I don't know. There's no 2 ever thrown at the same time in my boat. That's for sure. We won't do that.
Well, that's okay
But
because
that's
as long as we're fishing together, that'll never be an issue. You throw it all you
will
want
never
to.
happen.
I'll
We'll
never
never
touch
have to. I'll shy away from that Ned as much as I can too. But no, that's pretty funny. That story about the chatterbait there. It probably deserved to be thrown in the lake. It was cursed. It was
Now,
cursed.
the funny thing, so a couple of kids I had fishing for me, one of my high school teams, they love the chatterbait. And we were practicing for the state championship. We were down on Kentucky Lake, and we were up in one of our normal spots that we run to in practice. And one of my kids on the front, he caught a 6-4 and then turned around and caught a 4 on the next cast. And he kept looking. He said, see there, coach, that's a chatterbait. And I said, no, that's a bladed jig. I will not allow the ugly word of chatterbait to be uttered across my boat. I will throw bladed jigs. I will not throw a chatterbait.
Wow, you're the bladed jig guy. Okay.
Oh yeah. So I throw the sledgehammer. Okay, the Z-Man sledgehammer. I'll throw it. I love it. I will not throw a chatterbait. It's a bladed jig.
I see you. I I don't see the hype in buying anything over the $4.99 original Z-Man chatterbait. Actually, I do like the Elite. It has a little bit better hook kit. It's still cheaper. I've you know I've analyzed it. I mean, I'm sure a lot of people are saying the jackhammer is way better. All these different. Like I just think there can't be. There's a little bit different, but I like my old school original if I'm gonna do it.
The one thing I will say about the jackhammer, to me, it gives me the best of both worlds of the spinnerbait and a lipless crankbait in together. To me, that's kind of what it feels like when I'm working it. You get that hard vibration of what you get from the spinnerbait, but you get that trimmer like that you get from that lipless. And that's 2 baits that I have a lot of confidence in. So when I put that jackhammer together, I think that's one of the reasons why I trust it.
Yeah, it definitely runs truer. You can see that it kind of has that tighter. it just sit there and it does run. I think it runs a little bit better, but I personally, I've stuck with the old cheap ones, and I've kind of went away from that. I really went more spinnerbait last couple of years myself, but there's still times in certain lakes I kind of like that chatterbait a little bit. So you never know.
Well, Coach, let's talk about the list again. Was there any baits on there that you immediately, as soon as you looked at it, and you just instantly said, "Yep, that one's definitely out"?
The Ned, I guess I'm pointing to that was the first one I crossed off. It was actually, if I'm being honest, I know we just went over that. It was the only one on the thing that I look at it as I never want it to be in my top three personally. Um, but I also kind of wondered about the time of the year. I did kind of wonder if I was going to go more with the jig or the just the crash crawl. I think I was kind of break that. So I'd say my second one out was the most popular choice as the football jig. So I
And one
guess
thing
I'm
I'm one
just
thing I'm
an
going to tell
idiot.
you is, if you make the trip north with me this year in June, you're going to have to learn how to throw a Ned rig.
I can throw one. I've used it and I've caught a lot of fish on it. I just would rather. I don't like the hookup. I don't know. I just didn't throw a wacky rig personally. I like throwing a wacky rig, and
Oh,
so
now you're talking
when
to me.
yeah. If I'm gonna throw an edge rig, I just soon throw a wacky or throw a fluke or something like that, and try to go a little bit faster, cast it out there and get back. But now we'll set the net up north. I like it a little bit more, but I just don't like it around here.
Well, this is something that I think we will definitely do in the show. As we get into different seasons, we'll throw up 9 new baits. We'll put the polls out there. We'll get the listeners and the viewers and see what their thoughts are. And we'll break our stuff down, because that's going to be the really cool, is when you really dial it into a certain season. It gets really difficult sometimes to narrow down from 9 to 5, let alone 9 to 3.
Yeah, yeah. I think going nine. I think the three was cool, and I kind of think we'll do it some fun ways to tie some more people in with it. Like you said, we'll probably try to post it on our social medias and stuff before we go out here and see what everybody's looking at. But definitely hit us back in the comments of what you think after watching the show, what you're going to choose, and tell us what I chose was wrong, and see what you think about it. So
Well, and that's something that we love to hear back is, I've been posting the shows over on Bass Boat Central. And again, if you've never been to bassboatcentral.com, you need to visit this website. They're not endorsing us or anything by any means. This is a phenomenal landing place, not only for fishing, but just for great camaraderie. There's some great people on there. They talk about everything under the moon. But if you need fishing advice, there is stuff that is there. There's great vendors on there. I actually bought my 360 when I bought it for my boat. The screens were impossible. It was when everything was going on there at the first part of COVID. There was a guy that was one of the sponsors on there. He was out of Louisiana. I contacted him. He said, "Actually, I got 5 in today. I've got 2 left." I said, "No, you have 1 left. Send it to me." I sent him the money. 2 days later, I've got my screen, and it worked. I mean, it was brand new out of the box, works perfectly. And it's like, that's the kind of success stories you like to see, and that's why we like to talk about places like that, because of what you get.
yeah, I need to get on there myself. I haven't been on there. I've seen some of the boards, and you can look up questions, and I've it's taken me there. So definitely something to check out for sure.
Well, Coach, let's talk about what we're looking forward here as we're getting ready here in the Ohio Valley, and I know the Midwest is getting slammed. The South just got a lot of heavy storms, a lot of rain is showing up. We're getting the water intake that we have been talking about that we needed to see so long. The problem of it is, here comes the air out of Canada down with it, and we're going to see temperatures in the teens and maybe around 0 for the lows next week. And that is certainly not anything that makes you want to bundle up and head out on the lake.
Unless I'm got a shotgun in my hand for some ducks. It finally we should make them fly. I've talked about that every time, so that is the one positive. But no, I was like it's going to be finally winter. I would say here in our area, and from what I've seen around most of the country, like I said, I was planning on trying to go out Arkansas this next week and check it out. But with that kind of drive, 11, 12 hour, just going to end up being a 24-hour drive, I'd say, trying to drive with that snow and as cold as it's going to be. So we're ready to get on the water, ready to get going with it, but it's going to be a little bit still, it looks like. So, you know, tie on your stuff, see what you got to do. But I'm dying to, buddy. It's killing me. I'm ready to get out there and get going at it.
Now, something that's an interesting topic, and I don't want to get off on a tangent because this will be something I think will be great for another show. But when you get those temperatures that get sucked down into the 40s, low 40s, mid 40s, where we like that water temperature to be for active wintertime fishing, when they get stable, and then you get one of those days to where the air temperature jumps up into 50, are those one of those days that you just feel like is, man, you're going to go out and load them up in the boat?
I definitely feel that way every single time. uh, I, I think there's some things I'm excited to try. I'll say um, on day one of a warm day, I've never been able. I've always came home disappointed, just about personally. After that, just being honest and truthful. Unless it's after stable and we get warm. If you get 2 to 3 warm days in a row, then it changes your warm. But I kind of always have just felt that now I'm excited with my live script to check it out, and if I can be patient and actually just do a jerk bait and things like that, because I've always felt like whenever it gets that just random warm day, sometimes they'll slide up there, but I just feel like they just slide up or getting that. They just kind of want to bake their eggs and just kind of just be enjoy that it's warmer. I feel like they want to lay out there and be lazy. I don't know, maybe I'm wrong, but that's just kind of how I felt they do, and I hope that but I'm still going to go the first warm day I can and go check it out.
Something that I wanted to throw out here because I've been seeing a lot of stuff on this the last week or so, and it's something that I'm very interested in trying to see it works out. But a new product on the market, bait pop. There's a big push out there for it, and they're talking about one of how effective it is about attracting fish and catching fish, but at the same time, the use that it helps with the forward-facing sonar of allowing your bait to really show up on the sonar even better. I'm interested to see how this stuff works.
Yeah, I'll have to check it out. I haven't really seen about that yet, so definitely something I'll have to look into. I don't. What? So what's it going to do? It's going to like kind
So
of
basically, it
how does
looks
it
like
work?
it's in a lipstick tube, is what it goes with, and it's different type of scents. It's got glitter with it and everything. Scott Martin has been really big on talking about all this stuff. It's called bait pop, but the thing that it also does is that they said that you can put it on your bait. You can also put it on your line, and you can see your bait and your line on the forward-facing sonar better than you would without it. So I don't know about putting it on my line, but certainly maybe trying to put it on the bait, especially that Demiki rig, when you're trying to get it down there in some of those maybe 40, 50-foot depths, and just seeing if it does pop a little better.
Yeah, it's definitely something. Anytime you can, anything we add, it might catch this fisherman anyway. It might not catch a fish, but Scott Martin's, usually he knows what he's talking about. So I think that's an interesting thought. I've been kind of in that bait fuel stuff lately. I've seen that and done some old homemade recipes, but I haven't seen this bait pop. I'll have to check it out.
Now, talking about bait fuel, I really like that stuff. A lot of the net bait stuff has bait fuel in it now. And I've actually bought some of their style of the flat side minnows, and they're super. They're very durable. They catch fish, and that bait fuel, it's that scent that's already added into it, and I really like it. I think it's a great additive.
It seems like everything keeps just changing. They keep adding more and more to everything we have. And sometimes I still wish the stuff that worked back a couple of years ago, they'd bring it back, and I can't find it anywhere. So I'll when I find something I like, I'll keep buying as much as I can of it so I can keep it stored in the garage for a while.
With that, well, Coach, before we wrap things up this week, um, what's your thoughts moving forward? Where do you want to see us go here with the show? What's your ambitions with this stuff?
I think it's really getting that time of year. This is kind of last month of the off season, really. I'd say just month of January, and we're getting really close to kind of being kicked into full gear. I'd say so. I think we'll be able to start looking at kind of previewing some stuff that we're going to see in the professional world. I'm not talking about my stuff, but like talking to the actual the pros out there doing their thing. talking about, and then kind of what's going on locally in our area and some things that's going to be happening, kind of showcase some stuff that's going on, and continue on with our kind of flavor of the month, flavor of the week, what we're going to do with, different lures, different tactics, and different things that hopefully sort of get more viewer feedback on some fish catches and some things that it's happening locally, and hoping to our viewers that people are actually making it worthwhile to do right now.
Without a doubt. Again, if you're stopping by and you're not done so, hit that subscribe button. Give us a thumbs up if you like what you see. Hit that bell. And, of course, on social media there at Casting with the Coaches, he's Coach Eford12. I'm going to call your SC Live. And that email address there, cwtcfishing@gmail.com. Coach, it's always a pleasure, my friend. Looking forward to doing it as we continue forward. Again, if you got comments for the show you'd like to see, send us that email. Drop us the comments in there. We'd love to hear from you. Coach, we got to get out on the water soon, man. We got to get some weather that'll allow us to do it, though.
It'll happen before we know it.
Without a doubt. He's Coach Evan Ferguson. I'm James Collier. This has been Casting with the Coaches, presented by Borders Sporting Goods. We'll see you next week right here on YouTube.
Spring fishing season is just around the corner, and Borders Sporting Goods is your fishing headquarters for rods and reels from G. Loomis, St. Croix, Fenwick, Lewes, Daiwa, Shimano, and Abu Garcia. No matter what species of fish you are targeting, Borders has the perfect setup to make your next trip on the water a success. Borders has baits in every style and size, with a wide selection of tackle from Berkeley, Strike King, Zoom, Z-Man, Bandit, and many more. Before hitting the water for your next fishing trip, stop by and stock up at Borders Sporting Goods, US 60 West in Ashland.